You may know or may not know this about me, but I will begin my 20th year as the chaplain of Greensboro College in August. 20th? Yeah. I never wanted to be the chaplain. It is not what I wanted to do. It was not on my radar of something that I could do or should do or want to do. I did not want to be the chaplain. I was living in Canada at the time, doing my doctoral work in homiletics and preaching, hoping to be one day a professor of preaching in some seminary somewhere around the country. That's what I wanted to do. Actually, I really wanted to stay in Canada. I loved it so much. I loved being there. My friend Emily and I, some of you have met Emily. I was just there last week visiting with her and her family. Emily and I were Americans in Toronto together at the same time doing our doctoral work there. Emily hated it. She was like, when I finish this degree, I'm going back to home. I'm going back to the States. I'm going back home. It's so cold. It's dark. I do not like it here. I said, what are you talking about? I want to stay here forever. This place is awesome. We get health care. We have a great community. It's an awesome city. I love this place so much. Emily is now a Canadian citizen. I am here at Greensboro College for my 20th year. Exactly. Sometimes life doesn't work out as you plan. Sometimes life doesn't work out the way you want it to go. I did not imagine when I arrived here at Greensboro College that I would be here this long. I thought, I'll be here for a few years. But sometimes it's worked out in ways better than I expected or planned myself. But sometimes when things change like this, when things don't go right, I can be a little stubborn because I want my ways to happen the way I planned them out. But that's not always how life works, is it? Life doesn't always go the way we planned, but life will always change. That is for sure. Change will happen in our lives whether we like it or not. It could be good change or bad change, but change will happen. And sometimes we get frustrated because of it. It's like our guy Naaman in our scripture from 2 Kings today. Life didn't go as he wanted either. He was a pretty well-off guy. He was in the army. He was a commander in the commanding army of Aram, which is the northern country right above Israel. Sometimes Israel and the country of Aram, they didn't get along. Sometimes they were, sometimes they didn't. Sometimes they had a peace treaty, but they were kind of, enemies most of the time. Naaman is from that country. He is up and coming. He is a commander. He has made his country proud. He's made his king proud. He has won a lot of victories. He is an upstanding citizen. He has his life ahead of him until his life changes completely. When he comes down with a disease that the Bible calls leprosy. We're not quite sure what leprosy is in the Bible. Sometimes it's different names for the whatever the skin disease he might have. But he has this disease that is overtaking his body and his skin, and it's visible and everybody can see it. And the skin disease not only makes him sick and makes him irritated and makes him feel terrible about himself, it also kind of ostracizes him from the community. It makes him unclean. And so this man who has his whole life ahead of him, who has everything, who is the commander-in-chief in this army, who has made his country proud, is now living with this disease that might upend his entire life. Certainly didn't go as he planned. One day, Naaman's skin is itching and growing worse. And a girl from Israel that he has captured in one of his raids is now living among him and in his house, tending to his wife. This girl says, in Israel, in my country, there is a prophet who probably could heal you. Naaman's pretty desperate enough to go to the enemy to find healing. And so he goes to his king and he says, I need to go to Israel. I need to find this prophet. I need to find healing. And so his king gives him permission, writes a letter saying he can go to Israel, saying he can go to that place, and he takes with him silver and gold and garments to be able to say, this is a peace. I come in peace. I'm coming to bring you great things. Naaman arrives at the king in Israel. He gives him all this stuff. His armor is rubbing his skin. He is irritated. He is in a bad place. And he comes to the king. He says, I've come to find a cure. The king of Israel's dumbfounded. He's like, I can't cure you. What are you doing? Is this a trick? Are you trying to play a trick on me? Get out of here. Go away. And the king tears his clothes because he thinks Naaman is trying to trick him. And so Naaman gets out the door. He starts to leave, and the prophet Elisha hears about this incident, and he calls for Naaman to come to see him. He's like, I'm probably the person you're looking for. So Naaman gets in his chariot, wheels off to Elisha's house, the prophet Elisha, and he gets to his house to find a cure. He gets there. He is desperate. He's gone from one place to another. Now he's at Elisha's door, and he knocks on the door, waiting for Elisha to show up to heal him. And Elisha doesn't show up. He doesn't come to the door. Naaman is furious. He's gone to this king who hasn't helped him. Now he's gone to Elisha's house, who Elisha is not coming out. He is furious. Instead, Elisha's servant comes out to the outside, and he says to Naaman, hey, Elisha's not coming outside, but if you go down to the river Jordan, that little river over here, and dip yourself in 7 times, you'll be made clean. Naaman's like, what are you talking about? This river, the river Jordan, which isn't as big as you might imagine. It's very small, like dirty, kind of terrible little river. I have to go there? He's like, I could have gone to the rivers in Damascus. They're much better than this one. If this is all you were requiring of me to do, I shouldn't have come here in the first place. I could have gone to the rivers of Damascus and been there all along and had so much better. That's what it should have happened. Naaman's so mad, angry, that he has been given the runaround. He wants to be healed, but he wants to kind of be healed in the way he wants to be healed. And he's demanding to be healed in the way he demands. He's like, Elisha should come out and wave his hand over my wounds and heal me. This is what should happen. He came to Israel to find healing, and all he gets is the runaround, going from one place to another. This is not what he hoped for. This is not what he planned. This is not what he wanted. He expected help from the king. He expected help from the prophet. He expected Elisha to come cure him. And none of this is taking place. Nothing that he wants is going as planned. But that's the way life goes, isn't it? It never really goes as planned. It doesn't always go the way we want. We have plans we hope will work out. We have this dream of what should be, and sometimes they just don't happen. Sometimes it doesn't come our way. Sometimes we don't get what we think we should deserve. Life doesn't always go the way we want. It changes too quickly and too much. We should know this, though. We should know this. We're Methodists. And Methodists should be used to change. We change all the time. We change pastors. We change leaders. We change direction. We should be used to the change that happens in life, but we never get used to it. We never get used to it because what we want to happen should happen. What we want to take place should take place. What we plan should come true, and sometimes it just doesn't work that way. Life doesn't work that way. People leave us and move on when we're not ready. Illness sneaks up on us before we know it. Disease enters into our friends' lives without any warning. Life doesn't happen as we hope and plan. Sometimes our loved ones die before we want them to. Sometimes we're left alone without any warning. Life sometimes doesn't go the way we want. And like Naaman, we can become bitter and resentful and full of pain and hurt and sorrow. We can become stubborn even and dig in our heels because we won't change with the way life changes. We do not want to go along with what's happening. And we can demand to get what we want in the way we want it, like Naaman did, and we can even demand God to do what we want, to wave a magic wand over our lives, to make our lives go back to the way they were, to make our lives better. And when God doesn't show up at our doorsteps with an easy fix or a quick comfort, we find ourselves like Naaman in rage and anger and pain, storming off on our own. That's what Naaman does. He leaves Elisha's house. He just storms off, gets in his chariot, leaves. He goes away. He's like, I'm done. If this is what you think I should do, I'm done. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. He's so furious. But there's a friend of Naaman's in the chariot with him, a servant, one of his close friends. He's there with him. And as Naaman is staring down the road, fuming in his stubbornness, his friend leans over to him in probably a quiet but very strong voice. Sir, wouldn't washing in the River Jordan just be a simple thing to do? I know it's no River of Damascus. I know it's no great, wonderful thing that you think it should be. But wouldn't it just be simple to go to the river and dip yourself in 7 times? I mean, if he was asking you to do something difficult, would you do that? But this seems simple. Well, why don't you try that out? I can imagine Naaman looking over at his servant out of the corner of his eye, where his anger becomes maybe a little bit more reasoned. He's tried everything else. Why not try this? So he turns his chariot around. He finds himself standing on the side of the river as he dips himself into the water one time, then another, and another, until 7 times he has dipped himself into the water, washing away not just his disease, but washing away his stubborn pridefulness, washing away his own stubbornness, realizing that his way may not always be the best way. And he comes out of the water clean, with a new start. Life didn't go his way he wanted. His healing did not come the way he wanted it to come, and it didn't happen the way he wanted it to happen or in the timing he wanted it to happen, but it happened. God showed up. God showed up over and over again to him. He just didn't pay attention. God showed up to him, the little girl that was living among him, to tell him about the prophet. God showed up when he was sent to Elisha's home. God showed up in the servant who said, just go dip yourself in the river. He didn't want to listen to any of it. But God kept showing up. And the friend beside of him who said, just do the simplest thing. God kept showing up. It may not happen in the way we want. God shows up not in the way sometimes we desire. God shows up not in the way sometimes we hope. But God does show up. You know, I think that's what I've learned in my 20 years at Greensboro College is that God shows up even when I get stubborn and annoyed and life doesn't go out the way it should. Because I work with college students, and college students, they change all the time. They come and go. They have their own ideas. Sometimes they follow through, sometimes they don't. I have to learn to be more flexible with them and myself. Sometimes I have to let go because life doesn't go the way I want it or things don't happen the way I need. I think that's what I've learned. But what I've also learned is that God always shows up even when life doesn't go as planned. Sometimes God shows up in the comfort of friends and family. Sometimes God shows up in the kindness of a stranger. Sometimes God shows up in the voice of a child. Sometimes God shows up in a community who still believes in hope after hope. God shows up, even when life doesn't go the way I want. God will find a way to show up for us, to lead us to healing, to comfort, to peace. And the simplest thing to do might actually be the most difficult, is to be willing to recognize that God is in our lives, even when our lives do not go as planned.